Holy teaching, Pastor Joel, Pastor Jonathan. I'm flabbergasted. Jonathan, can we get that ditty one more time before we really get started? The
What?
full-fledged, completed
Yeah,
ditty?
of
Yeah.
course. What does the Bible say? Did the English translation get in the way? Why don't you look at the context? Find other scriptures you need to find the words that are complex.
That's fantastic. It's a great 5-step process. I'm starting to use that. I'm trying to get deeper into, the books of Job, the words of Proverbs of Solomon, all of these very like high density books that are just difficult to just read straight through. It's not a story at a certain point.
Right. Yeah.
And that's helping me dig deeper into these things. So, first off, thank you both. This has been amazing. 2 hours against Calvinism, though. How is that? How did that feel? Just getting after it, just taking this dead horse and burying it and beating it into the ground.
I mean, I had a great nap. I just really, unconsciously have absorbed so much about how to defend against Calvinism. Apparently there was something about flowers.
Yeah, some famous flower.
There was a flower, and
Was
then
that a rose or a
I fell
lilac?
asleep, and then I woke up, and then I did an outro. No, honestly, this is incredible. Like, again, Joel is one of the greatest teachers in the world, in my opinion. So to be able to be a part of this and to hear him teach about Calvinism live, it's a great experience. So to me, it was incredibly engaging and a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the episode. I think we even mentioned while recording that it's like 5 episodes in one, actually like 10 in one, you could even argue, because we did 2 verses per point. Yeah. It felt like a whole season though. Like the amount of preparation for that episode by itself was, it was a lot of work putting it together, trying to make it so that the listener isn't getting lost, which I'm listening to it upon editing it, and when it was done, trying to make sure everything fit together. And it's just like there were really strategic points where it's like we're trying to remind the listener of where we're at, which step we're at, multiple times.
Yeah, that
so even little
that
things
was
like
really
that,
helpful, by the way.
Yeah, because I know it. It was a really, really long and really, you said the word dense. I'll say that too. It's a very dense episode.
Yeah.
So, but really important. And I think the multi, I like to advertise and pitch the Malk podcast companion episode for the Calvinism topic, because Jonathan and I rant in that episode, I think, at our best yet. And I think what you can really hear and kind of an idea of what we felt about this episode, not just the length of it quantitatively, but qualitatively, the information it's the culmination of, or maybe the foundation of all the abuse we see in the church today. So I think what you hear, especially in that Malk podcast, when Jonathan and I are both talking about our feelings about that topic, you really feel that emotion that we both have.
Yeah.
About the seriousness and also the gravity of what's happened from this doctrine. So I think this could be a huge episode that could help a lot of people, or be a great, a hub towards other episodes, because this one, so many different pieces of damage in the church are covered in this one episode.
Right.
Yeah, it was quite the journey, Andrew.
I went on that journey. It was quite the journey. It's been amazing to follow you guys through these seasons of What the Flock. I have a lot of respect for the biblical and doctrinal acumen of both of you. I'm inclined to agree with Jonathan here on the expertise of pastor teacher Joel Swakowski. Just, it's tough to find another expert like you. So I'm curious. It makes sense to me that something like Calvinism would be flawed. Coming out of that time in the church history where there was a lot of corruption within the church and there was a great schism, and this reactionary belief system was basically put in place and kind of just carried on from there. So if you guys have had this mantle of kind of battling against this flawed interpretation, what other systems, what other flawed interpretations have you guys seen out there that might require someone else to take on the burden of what season are we on? 7, 6?
Oh, yeah, this is season 6. Yeah.
Someone else needed to take on 6 seasons of a podcast in order to tackle a flaw.
Oh man,
So-
I mean, yeah. So Andrew, you're asking what would take 6+ seasons to undo the flawed beliefs of another system.
Yeah, what's another system like this? Because I'm pretty sure there's not just one.
No, I mean the church is a massive system,
Mm-hmm.
where this is an issue. But think of something like education.
Oh.
Think of the belief of, you could almost just say in America, of how we educate students,
Mm-hmm.
not according to their uniqueness.
Mm.
So essentially what happens in school is that you sit in a long, sit in a seat for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really say anything until you get permission. And then once you get called on, you have to immediately answer the question.
Yep.
And then the bell rings, and then you move on to another point, and everything is very confined.
Yeah.
And so there is a certain type of student or a certain type of uniqueness that does benefit for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's internal processors, there's external processors.
Right.
Internal processors are more successful in our modern day education because you just sit in the same thing and you don't say anything.
Yeah.
You can think and come up with the answer. Or, we talked about, Joel, what season is that where we talked about the motivational spiritual gifts?
Yes.
Do you know what season? Okay, excellent.
No.
Okay.
No, that was yes, we talked about them.
Yeah, okay, do you know what season it is? Is it 4 or 5 or something? Like,
it's 4 or 5. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
I think it's 4.
One of the two.
So, and then there are kids that are, there's 2 types of gifts. There's gifts that are based upon doing things,
Mm-hmm.
and there's gifts that are based upon saying things or speaking things. And when kids are told to do, those kids who are compassionate, who are givers, who are servers, are more the teacher's favorite, because they say, I need you to sit down, and the kids will sit.
Yeah.
Whereas so essentially what happens is any kids that are external, any kids who are essentially, outside of those giftings, we want to put them in special education classrooms because we label them as hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So this is beyond 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 episodes, because this is a major issue. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this is an incredible technique to use if you're training a sniper. For example, have them be in a position for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Don't say anything, don't move until you can take your shot. And then once you've executed that, then you leave to the next place. It's like, are we training snipers? Or are we trying to educate children into being in their uniqueness and learning how they learn?
Yeah, and even in the military, even the military knows only the 1% of the 1% can even be a sniper.
It's
So,
the same technique.
yeah.
I had a buddy that said to me one time, he's like, school is sniper training. School is not, not helping the majority of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that would be my answer. Education is a massive system that needs a lot of work. And the flaw, so to summarize, the flaw is we don't educate students according to who they are uniquely. And I believe it is possible to do that, to educate children, to educate anyone according to their uniqueness, because all of us need to be educated according to our uniqueness. That's how we're going to learn the fastest and the most effective.
That's beautiful. As a external processor, my 0.7 high school GPA feels very settled with what you're saying right now.
How'd you graduate?
Yeah, very carefully.
Like,
honestly,
one of the smartest guys we know too.
Exactly.
I like to say it's harder work to get a D- in a class than to get an A. I mean, an A, you got 92 to 100%. D-, you have 60 to 62. That's a tighter window.
Genius. Aiming for the stars. Yeah. Well, I'll just go to another system that I think is near and dear to all of our hearts. What we've learned a lot from our friend Dr. T.U.L.I.P is psychology is another system that has massive flaws in how they're approaching helping people. Part of it's due to it being relatively a new field, but what we're seeing and what Dr. T.U.L.I.P is trying to do is essentially bring repair to psychology the way that Jonathan and I are trying to bring it to the church. Because where the issues lie, and I would say, and even Flowcess, the company that Jonathan's an executive coach for, is doing an education.
Right.
So everything Jonathan's sharing is from personal experience. And Andrew, we know you can speak to it more than just being a student. You're also an educator, or have been an educator.
Right.
So you've seen it firsthand, but we've also have seen firsthand trying to help people with mental health issues in the church. And we've seen the strategy of psychologists and psychology in general. And we are blessed to be friends with Dr. T.U.L.I.P, who we have firsthand stories and experiences from her that we can draw on. But a lot of the psychology is also the dealing with the same issues we deal with in the church. Going from effect to cause. Really, I think one of the simplest way to see it is the church, where psychology and the church overlap in their approach with people, is we're treating the symptoms. Like people have an issue in the church. It's have faith, pray.
Right.
Give it to God. People have issues outside and deal with psychologists. And a lot of times it's, medication for depression, anxiety. And it's think good thoughts, meditate, good self-talk, stuff like that, which is still symptoms. And back to Jonathan's point. So what's cool is when you have the T.U.L.I.P answer, shout out to season 5. The T.U.L.I.P answer when you're dealing with humans and their human issues is the same. With education, with the spiritual issues the church is trying to deal with the mental and emotional issues that psychology is trying to deal with. Jonathan already touched on it. It starts with uniqueness, which season 4, Pastor Jonathan, you were right. Season 4, episode 13. Where we start with the church and where education should start with students and where psychology should start with their patients is who the person is and then what thought process they're in. Which, if you look at all the episodes we covered all of those within the podcast in various seasons and episodes. That's why I love what we're doing. The context Jonathan and I are approaching is the church and damage in the church. But the answers we're given, the answers we're giving apply to any context. So it's been quite the journey. And so, but I could see just as much content being put into a podcast on Repairing Education, or a podcast on repairing psychology, and there's a ton of work to be done in both of those areas as well. And I'm sure there's, these are all contexts and systems, like you said, Andrew, that us three are all very aware of and are very close to us, whether we're working in them directly, right, or we know people and have friends who are working in them directly. There's systems we're not thinking about and that aren't that close to us that are having the same issue. Sure, business is the same, right?
Business, oh yeah.
Athletics, the same.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it, like, there's so many. I imagine any system that a human has gotten their hands on at some level needs some help. But I think the ones we see are the most devastating results when humans get their hands in it and mess it up, are the systems that are meant to be helping humans. Mm-hmm. Education, the church, mm-hmm, psychology. Like, if athletics went away, as much as that would suck, humans would be okay. The church can't go away. Education can't go away. Psychology can't go away. These are things that are meant to help people. Right. And that's when we see these systems get screwed up. It screws up humans. And yeah, so that's why I think those three that we covered today are huge.
That's amazing. I love that you guys took it to a completely different field. I was asking more in relation to Christianity, and I feel like nice. I'm just feeling inspired now to go write a book on education or psychology. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, so we didn't understand your question. Awesome.
we thought it was
I'll blame myself.
Picture than what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So on that note of branching out into different fields, just through doing What the Flock, just through this project, what have you learned more about your mission and your purpose?
Oh, geez. And I'll say this is going to kind of tip my hat to season 7. But one of the biggest things I learned is I need to hear other people. I need to be open to other people's perspectives. And that is without that, I have no hope in reaching anybody. And really, I have no hope in learning anything new. And even as a Christian, I love it that, like, Christians, in a sense, oftentimes are or have the reputation of being prideful or stubborn. I think there's this thing that happens. We become born again. We have this amazing experience with God, the spiritual and emotional experience. And we finally feel like we're on the right path. And that can quickly turn into, so now I know the truth, and it's my job to give everybody else the truth. And I don't need to change anymore because I have the truth.
Just looking down on all the plebeians.
Right. And unfortunately, what that can result in is not hearing other people's perspectives anymore. I have the truth now. It's not my job to hear anymore. It's my job to teach. But even Christians don't have it all figured out yet. So who am I to say I shouldn't hear a Muslim or a Hindu or a Jewish person or an atheist? And who's to say they might not have something that I still need? Well, God's to say that, not me, because I don't know. I don't know what I still need in a lot of cases because there's a gap in my understanding. So that's one of the biggest things I learned. And you look at every episode, seasons 1 through 5, we really go after the strict side, the loose side. Season 6, again, it's presented through these Bible passages. Season 7, we'll touch on strict and loose again. So we're always presenting these other sides, and then we're presenting an ultimate answer, right? But ultimately, it's like what I'm trying to see and what I'm learning is that I want to recognize all of those different perspectives. Yes, they are differing versions of a worldview or a belief, which in my head is very mathematical and just numbers and sentences and words and the alphabet. It's just content. But the reality is, what we're really talking about here is human beings holding these beliefs, The strict side is a human being who believes this. The loose side is a human being who believes this. The ultimate answer is meant to be given to human beings who hold this information that God's given us. And so that's what I'm seeing it more than just information now, and I'm seeing it more as how I can understand different human beings. And when it comes to human beings, I need to be open to hearing what they have, and especially if I want to give them something that I have, I need to be open to hearing something that they would have to me. And I figure, you know what? Why not just be open to hearing someone else first, and then be given the right to give them something I have, instead of just giving and giving and giving what I believe and never hearing someone else, just hoping that maybe every once in a while someone will hear me. It's like, man, if I hear someone else first, it's almost a guarantee that justice says, like, oh, that person is going to then give me the shot to say something too. So I think that's been, I mean, I guess the obvious answer would be like, man, I learned some big doctrinal lesson through this whole thing, but really I learned more about humans than anything.
That's great. So really you learned there's more people who have something to say than people who are willing to hear what someone else has to say.
That's a really eloquent way of saying that. Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, there is.
Excellent. Pastor Jonathan, what about you? What have you felt like you've learned about your mission, your purpose through doing What the Flock?
Yeah, through doing What the Flock, I think for me, I mean, all I want to do is help people and play music. So, you know, in my opinion, what a melody is it's a series of single notes that are musically satisfying. So that's it. When I think of a melody, you think of something that progresses and there's an emotional release to it. You know, the experience of doing What the Flock with Joel is like, the goal is to help people, which, you know, check that off the list. And what we try to do in these episodes is we try to create it in a way that has a flow, that has a familiarity to it. It has a progression. So to me, the episodes in a lot of ways feel like songs. Or there are songs and there are moments within what it is that we do. So I think, again, it's just in the progression of doing all of this. Like, Joel is the teacher, and I think that what I do is I host, and I am sort of trying to think about the listener always when we're doing these podcasts, so that I can ask a question, so that I can, you know, if there's anything that doesn't make sense for me or to translate to the listener. And it allows me to be kind of an advocate or a leader or like a mediator between Joel and the people that are listening. So to me, it, you know, what I've learned a lot in this journey is, and I've undone a lot of damage about what it means to be a leader. Now, what I thought that a leader is the person who's always talking, the person who's always quick to argue, the person who's always very domineering and a bully. And that's what it means to be a leader, is to take your head and, you know, plow it through somebody else or something else to get your way and what you want. But doing What the Flock, you know, it has reinforced to me that being a leader is facilitating the purpose and progress of other people.
Right.
The only reason to do What the Flock, and I don't think this is the only reason, is to help Joel teach. This is great. To me, that's fine. To me, it's totally worth it, because I want to do this with more people. what are the other gifts and abilities that other people have? It's like, we need more of that in the world. We need more people who are in their giftings, and like Joel has an amazing context to teach. I have an amazing context to lead in What the Flock and be a host in this, and to mediate and be a leader in a very musical fashion, to the point where everything up until this point has been condensed into a ditty. So, this is very much what I'm learning about myself. This is, I want to lead people into their purpose and help them make progress in that, more than ever in my life. And one of the things that's been amazing about this is, Joel kind of also tipped his hand to say he does the editing. One of the things I've learned in this What the Flock project is this is the best band that I'm a part of in my life, that I've ever been a part of in my life.
Honestly, I've never felt cooler. Hearing you say that. Oh, being in a band. Oh,
so and in my definition of a band is unique individuals that cannot do what it is that they can do without each other, like a true band. There are types of bands where you play together, but a true band, like, what does that mean? Is you take you take 100% of everything and you divide it equally with the band members. It's like, if there's, it's 4 people, it's 25%. If it's 3 people, 33%. 0.33 repeating for all of you smarty pantses out there.
Yeah, all you guys who are just going to be like, well, what about that 1%
Actually,
left over, John? We give the 1% back to God. That's what. That's epic, though, man. So, like, everybody in the band has a part, but not only that, but the band wouldn't work without that part.
No, you cannot do What the Flock without Joel, without myself, and without our producer. Right. This does not happen. Right. And the parts are equal, and nothing. What the Flock has shown me again, reinforced that nothing in my life that is successful do I do alone.
That hits me every time, man. Nothing great has ever been accomplished alone.
Nope.
That hits me every time, man.
Not in my life.
No, me neither.
And I think that's another thing that I've learned about myself. Every great work that I've done has always been, and this, I can give credit to this person. Almost more credit than what I feel like I own in all of this can be given to them, can be given to Joel, can be given to our producer.
Do you think God would say the same thing
about credit?
Or no, about the nothing great, nothing he's done, or just this statement of nothing great is ever accomplished alone. So I'm not even seeing what he's doing.
I think that is from him.
I think
let us make man in our image.
Yeah. That's why. No. Oh no. So you're saying no, Joel? I think God said that. You didn't say that. God did. Yeah. God's the one who first said nothing great is accomplished alone.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
He's the originator of us, is essentially what that is, so.
Yeah. That's profound. I like the band analogy. Thank you.
That's my answer. My long-winded, ranty answer. Thanks, Andrew. It's a good question.
It sounds like, Pastor Jonathan, it sounds like what you've learned is there's so much more pleasure in setting up someone else to be the talent for you than for you just being the star, the center of it, the talent yourself.
I got to do both. I have to use my I do, Andrew. I have to use my talent to set someone else up. And if it's going to stop at me, it's not going to be satisfying. But I got to use it. I got to use it myself. I have to use my talent and my abilities to facilitate someone else. If it doesn't do that, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, to me, it looks like both of your talents have paid off tremendously. The series so far has been, to my eyes, an expose on doctrine. How do we look at doctrine? How do we interpret scripture? Where do we get our theology, our philosophy of God, of our faith? Where does it all come from? If I was just going to tell someone, hey, what's a great place to start learning doctrine, learning truth? I think What the Flock would be a fantastic starting point, including the Music of Life Church podcast. And I'm curious what you guys would say if I asked, okay, besides that, if someone wanted to grow in doctrine, wanted to be an expert in doctrine, where would you tell them to go? What would you tell them to do?
If I couldn't point them to the podcast?
Beyond just the podcast. If you could point them there and then...
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, and we've done this before. I'll pitch Pastor Jonathan's his blog, his doctrine blog, is another resource that's great. You know, and especially if you don't want to listen to a podcast and you want to just read, it's got a really concise opening on each doctrine where it defines it really simply, gives an example, and then it's a plethora of scripture to support it on each doctrine, which is great. It's almost like a season
that for my last sermon.
Did you really?
Yeah,
it's great, right? It's like
super easy. Needed a few verses.
It's almost like a season 6, you know, resource, right? Because it is very much going to show you all the scripture you need to support this doctrine. I think it just starts with the doctrine, and the result is all this scripture instead of the scripture, and then the result is the doctrine. But the Swole Bible commentary we mentioned in another interview this round is that's if you want to use the Bible to find doctrine. Other than that, I mean, researching what you could do is use the tools from season 6 yourself. So I'm trying to like, okay, so what's the answer that isn't directing somebody towards some content that we've developed? Then use the five steps, the ditty for yourself, and actually, you know, read the Bible with the intention of trying to find the ultimate answer behind these verses. So I think all too often reading plans get in the way of people really enjoying the scriptures the way God intends us to. It doesn't have to be a race. You know what you could do is you could just start reading the Bible, and the minute you get to a verse that doesn't make sense to you, use the 5. You know, read it, check the translations, check the original language, and try to find, you know, the non-contradictory definition. Try to find where other verses use that same word, and start comparing and contrasting verses. That's going to be a great way for you to start understanding the Bible at a deeper level too.
Nice.
Because the Bible doesn't contradict as this entire narrative, right? So the more we can start, you know, comparing these different verses from different parts of the Bible, the better of a grasp we'll have for it. But I think having this mentality of, when I read the Bible, I want to find out where I'm wrong. And so that's what I do. Apart from the resources we could direct you to that have been developed by us, whether that's our blogs, the Bible commentary, the doctrine blog, or, you know, the podcast itself, it's use the tools that we presented for yourself and start practicing.
So aside from using your content, use the same tools that you've used to make someone's own content.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Become a contributor.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and I would, you know, my encouragement would be for people to use our content. No, I mean,
good.
We're starting a subscription service.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, dude. You should see how much money we're collecting from the restoration process, because that's what I'm about ready to pitch. Because so the thing is, we have a free Music of Life Church Kimberly has a free program called Restoration, and if someone wants to be an expert in doctrine, you have to get yourself right.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
If your brain is a mess and you're just trying to be smart for the sake of being smart, and your life is catastrophically terrible and you're miserable, you will never be great at doctrine, because you're not using it in your life. And the best thing that you can be is a hypocrite, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff, learn a lot of great things, and never apply it to your life. It's like, I don't wish that on my enemies.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, for anybody who's like, okay, I want to do this thing, I want to be great at X, I want to discover my purpose, I want to do this big thing. It's like, great. Why don't you, who are likely in a hole, why don't you learn the things that help you as a person get out of a hole? And all those stories that you will use will help you refine your purpose. And what it will do is it will help you discover who you are, because when you're in a hole, it's really hard to say, I want to be an expert in this, or do this, or do this, or do this, or do this, because objective number one should be for you to get out of a hole in your life. So that it would be, so to me, Andrew, to answer your question, it would be, I want to be an expert in doctrine. Awesome. Take a backward step and work on yourself. Because that is the way you will use doctrine. Only doctrine will help you out of a hole. And once you use that doctrine, that is where you will see the most success in your life, is using the doctrine.
Nice.
And that, to me, is being an expert in doctrine, is you use it in your own life to the point where it helps you, and then you are able to replicate that in someone else. And you got to first start with you.
Jonathan's answer is that both our answers are very true to who we are. Mine is very academic and like Professor Joel's answer, and Jonathan's is pastor. I care about people. I'm a leader. Love it. Love it.
And that makes sense to me.
Which is really funny. It's really funny, Joel, that you're talking about the Deeper Why blog, because I have it pulled up right in front of me right now.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah.
That's great. I'm like, I give my answer and I'm thinking, I don't know what the heck Jonathan's going to say. I just said everything he can say about this topic.
I just knocked it out of the park. We're done.
Again, why I need to hear other people's perspectives. I'm never going to learn. I'm never going to learn enough if I try to learn it all on my own.
Well, I think what's great is your perspectives, your answers really merge well together. I mean, okay, great. I'm starting to learn some doctrine. I'm starting to learn some truth, starting to apply it to my life. Now what? Well, I'm going to look in a mirror and go, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Now let's learn some more to deal with what's wrong with me. And in doing that, I'll create some content. I'll create something that I might be able to use to help someone.
Stories, yeah. Nice.
That's amazing. It's a great answer. I'm mad. That's so good.
Oh, I'm so flattered that you're so mad.
You're so mad, yeah.
I'm so flattered.
So really, this season was a masterclass. So what's next? What more can you guys possibly do? What more could there possibly be to address that hasn't already been addressed?
Oh, honestly, I've never been more excited for a season to launch. I've never been more excited. And I feel like I've said something along these lines every time.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
But and who knows? But I would say I do, maybe it's recency bias. I'm feeling very strongly about the episodes that haven't aired yet that are about to soon. As I would every season. but there's something special about season 7. It is different from anything we've done. It's as different from seasons 1 through 5 as season 6 is from 1 through 5.
Ooh.
It's as different as any of the ones before it. And what it is it's it's a plethora of topics that are seemingly disconnected, but I think we end up finding by the end of season 7, it's still a season that it brings people on a journey once again. And but the topics, I don't want to even spoil necessarily what the topics are.
Trying to get it out of you.
Well, I think we've said it's, it'll be like controversial topics, but apart from that, we haven't gotten specific into telling people what those are. And I'm so excited about it that I'm kind of feel like I'm holding it pretty tight to my chest as well. Because I'm really, really excited for season 7. So, and I'll say this too, outside the podcast, one of the things that this whole 7 season arc has brought us on, that has taught me, is there's still so many things we could talk about. Now, I think there is a specific arc we went through for a specific purpose that does have a sunset on it, but there's still so much more to work on. There's still so outside the podcast, I know Jonathan and I have plenty of projects that we're going to be working on in the future, and I don't know what any of those look like yet. But I know I'm going to fight tooth and nail to continue working with them. So we'll figure something out.
Nice.
Yeah. What's next? Well, we for season 6 have been on the path of repairing the reputation of the church, of the Bible. So we've been on a path of repairing that. Well, there's a bigger system than just the Bible, and it's the church. And I think that season 7 is how we repair the church.
Oh man,
I think
a great way to say it.
I think season 7 is why is the church powerless? Why is the church so broken? Why are we not making any progress? And why are people not like flooding our church to get the answers for their souls being rejuvenated?
Right. Why are we so bogged down by these petty squabbles?
Petty squabbles. What a great phrase. What a great phrase. Remember that in the middle of season 7, Andrew. Remember that, please.
Is there an episode titled Petty Squabbles?
It's beyond that.
It's beyond the name of an episode.
It's in every episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we are, when this season comes out, Andrew, I think you're going to just laugh.
Yeah.
Because
remember petty squabbles.
Yeah, petty squabbles. And
wonderful.
when we're going to help, I think, if people listen to season 7 and they learn the method in which we approach every episode, the church is going to heal and repair.
Yeah, it's great.
The power will return to the church.
That's fantastic. So we're going to finally deal with such controversies like, am I going to hell for listening to rock and roll? Are we finally going to hear? Can I break up Led Zeppelin?
We might hear it, but it might be backwards.
Oh no.
Worship the devil.
You have to listen to the episode backwards.
You do. You listen to the episode backwards.
Yeah. Listen to episode 3 of season 7 to get that message backwards. Yeah.
Now, I know that he said Jesus is the Son of God, but listen to it in reverse. Jesus is the Son of God. Now in reverse. Worship Satan.
No. Break the computer.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we've only got a little bit of time left here, guys. I just have one more question. each time we interview, I love getting to know just a little bit more about the two of you. And I'd love to hear, once What the Flock is all said and done, wrapped up with a pin, what are some other passion projects you've got? Let's just hear one from each. One passion project that you've got besides What the Flock.
Well, I'm working on a book about my son Jack right now. Something that's been in the works since he was like 1 year old. First draft I'm working on this year, and I'm about halfway done with the first draft right now. So yeah, I got some work to do yet this year to get where I want to be by the end of the year done. But it's a book that I'm going to be writing that's, you know, about the journey of Jack growing up from a boy into a man, and that journey through the eyes of his dad.
Wow.
In order to help us understand God the Father at a deeper level. So that's been one of my passion projects right now that I hope to have done in the next, completely done and published in the next couple of years.
That's amazing. I've always admired your passion as a father, and Jack is one of the coolest dudes I know. So I'm excited for this book.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me. Yeah, I have
What
band
could
called
Jonathan talk about?
I
I
know.
don't know. I'm
Oh,
excited.
I don't
I'm
know.
excited to hear. I want to know.
What else does he possibly have going on?
You're writing another album anytime soon?
Yeah, dude, I'm going right in, I'll be in the studio in October.
Oh my gosh.
Was that what you were going to say?
No,
or
not
did you have
until
a different answer?
No, not until you said, well, I mean, specifically you pulled a date out of me, but yeah, I'll be in the studio in October, early October, to hopefully work on the next EP from a band I'm in called Adama.
Are you going to finally record the songs that are all about your wife? Because those are usually my favorites.
Oh, thank you. I think there might be one of them on there. Yeah. Which is a song I just
Young, Annie.
Yeah, I don't think those will be on there. They could.
Killing me.
These are gonna be the brand new songs, like the more acoustic songs that I've written and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
But I wrote a song this week about Morgan, my wife. And the first lyric, I played it for her, and the first, lyric that I said, she like sat up straight and was like looking at me like, this is about me. And she knew it right away. So
cool.
And
that's why I was choppy with your answer. I was choppy, like I want to know your answer because I was hoping you'd say something about music.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I mean, the song is so sweet, it almost makes my teeth hurt. But yeah, so I'm excited to get back in the studio and keep recording. And again, learning about myself, Andrew. I love your question about, and what you were saying about using my talents and to help other people and stuff like that. Because that's all I want too, is I want people to be able to experience, my heart as a shepherd for people, because I believe it's a heart that God has for people, infinitely times more. So it's really tied in with what Joel's answer is as well. I think if they can read Joel's book, they'll get a sense of God's heart for them. And it's like, I want that for my music as well. I want people to be tapped into something that's much bigger than just a great song, even though, man, I love a great song.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you both so much. I am blessed to be surrounded by such creative and wise men such as yourselves. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the gift you've given us of this podcast. It's been funny. It's been fun. It has been informative. My three favorite things. So thanks again for talking to me. I'll see you guys around.
Thank you, Andrew.